folks, welcome back to another episode of the complete playthrough series with Liverpool. It's another game day. It's Crystal Palace coming up later on, but before we get into that, I want to focus on a player which is probably who is probably much maligned by opposition fans as not really being good enough. I, though, tend to disagree. For those that follow me on Twitter, you'll know I'm a big fan of Jordan Henderson. I think I called him the best box-to-box midfielder in the world at one point during this series. But yeah, since he's returned to the team, it's playing in a box-to-box role in the centre of midfield. You can see he missed games against Watford, Stoke, Sunderland, Hull, wasn't fit for the Swansea game, but came back in against Manchester United and Manchester City, and then obviously benched against Newcastle in the League Cup, but then came back again against Middlesbrough. Completed 130 passes, a game in which we dominated, but let's not forget, 130 passes of his 139, only misplaced 9 passes, and got himself an assist in the game as well. Playing only a 6.8 rating, which on the surface doesn't look that good, but it's what he offers with that control, with the way he controls the game from that position. Really does impress me. Like, if he's playing next to Emre Can, if you look at that, in fact, what we'll do is we'll look at that game just so I can show you the difference between the two. So Emre Can playing a deep line playmaker role, you'd probably expect him to have way more passes in the game. Actually, that's not the case. Henderson has nearly 30 more passes than, actually 35 more passes than Emre Can in the middle. Can has a lot of them, don't get me wrong, but Henderson in there really does do a fantastic job of just keeping the ball moving, getting it, giving it, and making teams work that little bit harder. And I dare say that's one of the reasons Firmino gets so much space in that last game to score the goal against Middlesbrough. If you think about this, all of a sudden, Firmino gets it, he's managed to drift out, he's not marked by anybody, these midfielders are tired, they're constantly running, you can just see it from that short example there. Firmino gets the space, the time, you give a player like Roberto Firmino that much space and time, he will finish it off. And again, just something else to highlight Henderson's influence, if you look at the pass completion, I've got a few of these listed, the pass completion, 91% Henderson from his 6 games played, 1 substitute appearance, is top of that. You compare that to a player like James Milner, who had played there previously for me, only 84%. While that 7% difference doesn't sound like a lot, in actual fact, I think it really changes the way we play. I would imagine if you look at how many passes are completed, Henderson's probably got a lot more completed. In fact, actually, they played 7 appearances between them. I think there is actually a stat you can look at for that, like total passes completed, if you find it here. So passes completed, or per 90 minutes is probably the best thing to look at. So I'm hoping this will reveal that Henderson has a lot more than Milner. In fact, nearly 20 more than James Milner. We've changed the style a little bit, of course, but actually Milner was probably part of the side that were playing with 4 across the front, so you'd expect the passes to be popping off far more often. But you can see that Henderson, 73.96 passes, Milner on the other hand, 57.47. So it's interesting to see 20 more passes from our midfield when Henderson's on the pitch, which is actually almost very similar to Emre Can, who he's playing next to. So yeah, interesting to see the dynamic there and the difference you get from a player like James Milner and a player like Jordan Henderson. Anyway, that was our little chat we've had before the game. Nice to see that sort of thing happening though. When like I was saying, when we were losing games, I really think we missed Jordan Henderson. I think having him in the side makes us a better team, and I feel like now we've kind of seen that, right? We've seen that actually is true. He does have a big influence on the game, and it's important to have him in there. Coming against Crystal Palace then, another game against a team. Oh, hang on. Before we do that, Liverpool player scoops Young Player of the Month. Balde Keita gets it actually. 3 goals from 3 games, a 7.57. I think he's still injured actually, so he won't be available for today's game for 1 to 4 days. We might make the bench then. It'll be touch and go for him. Wenger gets boss. Wenger gets October's top boss. We're actually 3rd on the list behind Pochettino as well. Not too bad at all. I wonder if the Arsenal fans are enjoying Arsene Wenger at the moment. Well, who knows at this point? Who knows? Right, question from Squawker. Hi Squawker, how are things? I've got, do you know what? Yeah, sure. He's a fine footballer. Basically, Brannigan got Young Player of the Year, Young Player of the Month in his loan. Well, for his team that he's on. Let's start that again. For the team that he's playing for, Fleetwood, in, what is it, League One? Cameron Brannigan got Player of the Month. I cut that up because it was such a mess. I think I would stop and start again. Right, continuing forward, let's get to this game against Crystal Palace. 12th position Palace, probably where you'd expect them to be under Sam Allardyce. Had a pretty rocky start in the Premier League, of course, sacked Alan Pardew. I don't think Pardew will be in charge. I think because of the winter update, it will be Sam Allardyce. It is Sam Allardyce. Of course, playing a former Liverpool player, Christian Benteke, in this game. The kind of player that Liverpool ordinarily don't deal very well with. So we're going to have to see. We couldn't get the best out of him when he played for Liverpool, but we also don't know how to deal with players like Benteke. Lots of instructions advised, but I'm just going to ignore them and carry on doing what I'm doing. We've got a few wins on the bounce, so I'm going to stick with that. Apparently on the 12th of August, I said Liverpool would win the league. How is the league? Who is top of the league now? Tottenham, Arsenal. I mean, we're a little way off. I might just say Watford, just to throw a spanner in the works. Sure, I think Watford can win the league. Why have you picked them as title favourites? Well, they beat us for a start, but we'll say that. I think the challenges are far more for Sam than me. I'm doing this press conference. I don't really care for it all that much. They're very capable. We'll have to be at their best if we're going to get something out of this one. I agree with that. We probably will have to be at our best based on the recent form against these lower division sides. And it should be a slightly shorter episode today. Of course, only the one game. The last few episodes have been a little bit longer. This will extend the time a bit though, saving the game. So yeah, decent form. All of a sudden things have picked up. I appreciate everyone leaving comments. I understand that I can't read, or I mean I can read every comment, but I can't then do everything people are suggesting. It would be very conflicting if I did that. It's quite difficult to do that. But I do appreciate people leaving comments. I do read them all. There's some things I can take on board. There's some things I don't agree with. But ordinarily I've tried to go with what you guys have said. A lot of you have said, like, play an attacking player, it will make the world of difference, and you are right. As I say, the total football experiment failed. I've said that before, I'll say it again. Right then, Palace to come at Selhurst Park. We're quite a few points ahead of them now. There's already a bit of a gap emerging from the top half to the bottom half. City's still struggling though. We've only lost one game this season, and hopefully that stays the same. Away at Crystal Palace though, never easy, especially with Christian Benteke up front. I think we're going to bring Sadio Mane back into the side today, play him as the winger on that left-hand side. We're also going to play Wijnaldum on the left, are we? Or are we going to change that up a little bit? That's the question. The other question mark is, do we bring Dejan Lovren in back next to Joel Matip? Of course, he's not really played there since the start of the season. We've put in Klavan. I've got to say he's done a pretty good job, all things considered. I think we probably keep it as is. Javier Pastore is nearly back to full fitness as well. I want to try and get him involved at some point. Maybe in the next cup game or something like that. The left side, though, still up for debate. Keita Balde's not fit for that yet, so we're going to leave him as is. The question is, do we go for Sheojo? Do we go for Coutinho out there? Do we put Lallana in behind and put Coutinho out there? I think that's what we'll do, actually. We'll bring Lallana in. If I'll play Lallana as an inside forward on that left-hand side, cutting in, I quite like the idea of that, actually. Shannon Henderson in the middle, of course. Firmino up top, who's got 4 now in his 8 starts. Recent form is really good as well. 7.38 for him. Same for Sadio Mane, who's in really good form, as is Emre Can. Right, come on then, team. Let's get into this. Let's see how we get on against the Crystal Palace side that will offer a few threats, but I think are going to set up quite defensively to begin with. Saw the little preview screen there. It looked like they played 5 at the back, and they do play 5 at the back. Mandanda in goal, Ward, Mexis, Dan Delaney, and Soiree at the back. Then Zaha's obviously a problem. Jamie Schlupp and Kabay are in there too. Benteke up front looks very isolated from that, and it might be quite similar then to the Middlesbrough game. Now, it's a game that we started standard fluid in and got to half-time playing pretty well. There's a debate to be had. Do we want to go more attacking in this? But then, of course, we're aware that Jeffrey Schlupp and Zaha on either side are going to be quick. They're going to be problematic if they get the ball in attacking areas. They're going to put our fullbacks under a lot of pressure. And I don't want us to overcommit and then have Klavan and Matip having to deal with sort of the 3-pronged attack of Schlupp, Zaha and Christian Benteke. I'd rather have a bit more of a solid unit back there. So I think for the start of the game, we'll start in a standard fluid, and then depending on how it's going, we'll switch it up to attacking. Maybe we'll go on the counter-attack if we feel like we have to try and draw them out a little bit. 5 at the back is going to be difficult to break down. And again, ordinarily, if you've seen Liverpool in the season in real life, you'll know that breaking down a 5 at the back system, not always easy to do. But Manchester United will come to Anfield and set up like that, so there's not much you can do. That's a joke. I think it was 6 anyway, so everyone relax. Henderson on the ball. In the highlight. Why do that? Let me talk about the game. Jokes are jokes. There's nothing wrong with a joke. It's what I'm trying to make everyone aware of all the time. Too much so. Can get annoying. Right. Corner for us. Henderson to swing it in. He's on the duties today instead of Coutinho. As Firmino comes in late. Klavan over to Matip. The back two combine. Well, it was defensively I was wondering whether they'd be the perfect partnership, but actually it was going forward in which they were. Klavan nods down to Matip then, who from close range does really well. The corner ball whipped in from Henderson. It's actually very good. Devilishly put in. Roberto Firmino gets up, heads it to Klavan, who heads it to Matip, who left-footed, puts it into the back of the net. Palace players look devastated. He in the middle there looks absolutely distraught. Well, I'm pleased, frankly. 1-0 then. Half an hour gone. Looking good. Mane's picked up an injury, so we should maybe substitute him. Let's see, what is that injury? Potential thigh injury, so that could be some sort of hamstring issue. We'll see if he can get to half-time. Hopefully he can get to half-time. And then think about a switch. There's a few options. I'm trying to think about it now. Do we go with Origi? Do we go with Wijnaldum? Could even go with James Milner out on that right-hand side. He's a bundle of energy, is James, so we might put him out there. We're actually squeezing the gap at the top if things remain the same. Right, half-time, though. This is tricky now. Do we maybe switch Lallana to the other side? He's not having the greatest time on the left. We could maybe put him on the right and then bring maybe an Origi or Wijnaldum. I think what we'll do, actually, then, is we'll put Lallana on the right, play him as an inside forward on that side, switch it up, play a winger on this side instead, and bring Divock Origi on who can play in that role relatively comfortably. I think that's probably the best thing to do, actually. Yeah, Mignolet is in goal. Back four look good. Shan, Henderson, Coutinho in behind Firmino. We need to see more from that little duo. Of course, the goal didn't come from them. Hopefully we can create something in the second half. And what we'll keep an eye on as well is if Crystal Palace decide to change their formation. In fact, we'll get that up on screen to see if anything happens with it. What am I looking for here? Crystal Palace formation. I'm going to try and put this in a place where you can kind of see it. I think, in fact, can we put it on one of these screens here? Yeah, we'll do that. We'll put it there. We'll see if this changes at any point. Because if it does, I think that might make us change things. Actually, Benteke's gone off and Remy's come on, which is interesting. That will change how they play slightly. Balls over the top might be a thing now. But if we get a second goal, that'll be less for us to worry about. As Henderson brings it forward. Nice ball up to Lallana. At the end of this game, I'm going to have a quick check on the passing in this game. See if it was similar to what I've had before. Klein puts the ball in. Cleared by Delaney. Headed back in by Henderson. It fell nearly to Roberto Firmino. But Klein is going to get this back. Of course, a former Crystal Palace player. Plays it inside. And still 1-0. 20 minutes to go. Maybe time to start thinking about some changes. Adam Lallana's having a slightly better game now. He's on that right-hand side. The question is, do we take out Emre Can, bring on someone like Wijnaldum for the final 20 minutes? I think we will, you know. I think fresh legs in the middle is always important. Emre Can's having a good game without being explosive. So we'll bring in Wijnaldum. So he does. Him and Henderson in real life, again, have played pretty well together when given the opportunity. So can we translate that into Football Manager is kind of the question. There's about 10 minutes left to go. We're still on standard fluid. 1-0's a pretty close margin. And Crystal Palace continue to play a 5-4-1. If they changed that, I probably would have switched to the counter-attack. But they're going with this throughout the whole game. It looks like it's going to be a very routinely solid away win. Oh, they've changed it at the last minute. They've gone more attacking. 3 minutes to go. Henderson with a free kick. Oh, well, it's been struck towards the feet of Mandanda, who's made a bit of a mess of it, to be fair. Parries it onto the post, then finally claims it. They've changed the formation up. I'm actually not going to change it. I don't think there's enough in there. I think we're controlling the game pretty well. Nearly 70% possession on our end, as there's about 20 seconds left to go. And Wijnaldum with the ball at his feet out towards Klanasic. That's not how you said it. I just made that up. I literally just made it up to try and sound cool. It went wrong. Ball into Coutinho, though. Is there another goal here for us? The ball nearly finds its way to Lallana, who is offside. We seem to want to end games with offsides at the moment. Right, I mean, again, 632 passes. We'll see if Henderson had the most in the game, which I assume he probably did. Of course, 91% I think is his pass accuracy. A great 1-0 win, though. Very nice victory. Well done to the boys out there. And let's have a look at this then. Liverpool stats. Jordan Henderson, 120 passes in this one of his 125. Coutinho isn't too far behind, by the way, 116 from 125. Really, really good from Jordan Henderson. And I think in games like this, all of a sudden we've gone from being quite vulnerable on the break to holding on to these and actually looking really good. The wingers and the inside forward, that's quite a nice mix actually, having one doing one thing and one doing the other. We might even look at that with Keita to play that inside forward role. Keep Mane as the attacking outlet on the right, but bring Keita in to play as the inside forward. He can play on either foot. What will be interesting though is how much this injury has affected Sadio Mane. We'll just check that actually before we carry on. And I might even look at the passing of Jordan Henderson and see where he's doing some of his best work before we end things here. Well, interesting then. Mane has picked up the injury. It was a hamstring, as I suspected, with the thigh injury. 2 to 3 weeks. He'll miss some relatively big games, obviously, as well as the international break, which, well, not international break, but the African Cup of Nations, which he'll head off to at the end of December. So we're going to miss him now for the next couple. West Brom, Chelsea, probably Norwich as well, and even Arsenal. He might well be back for the Tottenham game, but that's 4 games he's going to miss, which is quite upsetting. It's a player that we've become quite reliant on that right-hand side, but it's kind of good timing, I guess, that Keita comes in and is fit and able to play again. I just want to look at Jordan Henderson then in that last game and see what he did and the impact he has in the middle. We've also got, okay, Shan suspended. That's going to be interesting for the next game as well then. Something to think about. Right, if we just look at the analysis for Jordan Henderson in that game then against Crystal Palace, just to see where he's operating. Again, possession of the ball was certainly in our favour. We had a lot of the ball. The passes that he missed is something we're going to look at first. So there we are then. You can see he's missing the occasional pass. I believe we're defending this end going forward. I don't think those are backwards passes. But only 4 intercepted passes. That's not bad at all, you know. Completed passes then, all in this area where you'd expect them to be. Not many passes into the box. Firmino probably doesn't offer that sort of support. But overall, you can see dominating in terms of passing. And he's quite pushed on as well. He's not doing it from the midfield, sort of the halfway line. He's doing it from inside their half a lot of the time, which is interesting. He's gaining possession a lot as well. He's winning the ball back in the middle, which I think is really, really important. I'd be interested to know how many times he's doing that compared to maybe Emre Can next to him. Again, losing possession. A lot of the times it's in these forward areas, which should be expecting. This is a bit of a concern, though, in this area. That against better teams, that will become a problem. But overall, I think he's had a great game. You can see there on his heat map, the touches he's had. He's absolutely dominating that midfield, and the passing is really a good example of that. Is there actually another way you can... I'm sure if you look at... There's something here you can look at stats then. You can. So 90% of his passes are hitting at the moment, and he's only missing... He's failed 77 passes, which in however many games, I think it's around 7 games, isn't too bad at all. I think he's got an assist to his name as well. Yeah, 2 assists so far this season, and is looking really good. 92% in the Premier League, actually, which is excellent. So there we are then. That's a bit of Jordan Henderson chat for today. But I've enjoyed that. That's good. Another win on in the bag, and that's going to bring us to the end then. Next time out, we'll look at the West Brom game, and hopefully that'll set us up very nicely for the Chelsea game. The unbeaten run, imagine saying that, the unbeaten run continues. We haven't actually lost since Bournemouth, weirdly. Yeah, so if you enjoyed the videos, please do leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel, and we love with care from Nut to Benji. Until next time, I'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.